Good evening, Highland View. It's Wednesday, and it's not just Wednesday. It's for us. We find ourselves Wednesday in the middle of Holy Week. We find ourselves in a unique position, trying to figure all this out, and I loved so much this past weekend doing family retreat and being able to spend time together and enjoy that time and connect regularly and talk about things on a regular basis. And it was wonderful, honestly. And as we move from that into Holy Week, our week leading up to Easter, we move from Palm Sunday into this week, and we're building, right? We're building each day, building to Friday, and then to Saturday, and finally to Sunday. Holy Week is not usually spent largely isolated. It's a different place for sure. And as we attempt to figure this out together, like everything we did this past weekend, I think that we will continue to be amazed at what God does with us and for us during this time. If you follow Holy Week and how this looks going through each day, it's Wednesday is an interesting day. Palm Sunday, we have Jesus, the triumphal entry into Jerusalem, and we have Jesus coming in riding on a donkey, a cultiful, and you have palm branches being laid down as a announcement, almost as the arrival of a king, even though he's riding on this donkey. And that's where we kind of get the name Palm Sunday. And there's a lot going on there to start this week. And one of the amazing things there is, Jesus is a rabbi. He's a Jewish rabbi, and Jesus has he has his disciples, as lots of others do. And he's entering into the city, and they're crying out, they're calling out. The people in Jerusalem are calling out, the disciples are calling out, Hosanna at him, and King, and some of the other rabbis, because again, there were lots of rabbis. Some of the other rabbis kind of chime in, and they're like, get a hold of your people. Jesus, come get your people. They're out of line. And here we have this moment where Jesus says, I could, but if they were quiet, even the rocks would cry out. The difference between the palm branches on Sunday and the events of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and finally Sunday, that week, it is an unbelievable chain of events that take place during that time. And I encourage you, read through, look at these. You can find these accounts, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, some John. Wednesday, in the middle of that week, in the middle of this week where we find ourselves, Wednesday in the middle of Holy Week is not just kind of the middle of the week. It's kind of this weird central tipping point. One of the questions that gets asked a lot is earlier on in Jesus' ministry, why does he constantly seem to tell people, don't go telling people what I've just done? Why does he heal someone and say, all right, now, don't go crazy, don't go tell anyone, like that's ever going to happen? But why does he tell them that? Why does he say, don't go tell them? Why does he tell demons, don't you tell these people who I am? And I always kind of give the same general answer, is that Jesus wasn't ready. He was on a mission. He was on a path, and he knew this isn't his first trip to Jerusalem. He had been to Jerusalem before. This isn't his first arrival in Jerusalem, though this one is very different. And he knew eventually this arrival into Jerusalem would occur. But he wasn't ready yet. He knew that being the Messiah, and he knew that people knowing him as the Messiah, and he knew people following him as the Messiah would further this path and this cause of people reaching out and trying to kill him. And early on in his ministry, Jesus had a lot to do. He had a lot to show these disciples. He had a lot to show the 12. He had a lot to show the 3. He had a lot to show the masses, and he wasn't ready. But once Jesus hits this arrival into Jerusalem, this past Sunday on Palm Sunday, then he's ready. and his words change drastically. There is no don't tell. There's no I don't want people to know. There's no I'm not ready for people to know who I am. This is a very different Jesus. Jesus knows his time has come. Jesus knows this time when he enters in Jerusalem, this is it. And so his words flow Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And they're more in your face. They're more just laying it all out. They're public. They're in your face. They're antagonistic. They're Jesus being Jesus. Jesus being God in the flesh here. And then there's Wednesday. Wednesday is a day of near silence. It's almost completely skipped over. It's mentioned in Matthew, it's mentioned in Mark, and it's just barely mentioned in Luke, but just mentions at best. You have this day of quiet, this day of near silence. It's this tipping point where everything changes. Thursday, things really take off. And so Wednesday, you have this almost reflective day. And it's not that there's nothing going on. On Wednesday, we believe Wednesday, Judas goes and makes his plan. Judas meets. But while Judas is meeting, while Judas is preparing the betrayal, while Judas is entering into this contract to betray Jesus, Jesus is still. It's one of his few moments of still during this week, but he's still. He's at a house. Simon is at a house known. This person is known for his illness, leper, and this is where he is. This is where the alabaster jar gets broken and the perfume gets poured out. A year's wage. Think about this. This is a $20,000 bottle of wine that someone methodically turns the cork and very purposely opens this $20,000 bottle of wine they've been saving. This is this bottle of perfume, and it has to be broken. Literally, you crack the vase, you break it to get the perfume out, and she anoints Jesus, head, feet. It's a different washing of the feet with this perfume. And Jesus is here for this. The disciples get all bent out of shape, and Jesus reassures them, no, this is something different. This is something different. and then over the centuries, this poor woman has been turned into a prostitute and a whore and a sex worker and all of these things. And her identity has been changed from one Mary to another Mary to a third Mary, all to just kind of dilute and change the story. But you have this moment where she breaks the vase, she anoints Jesus, and everything is still. Jesus is being recognized by what everyone else would consider the least of these. Even to his own disciples' kind of chagrin is this happening. But Jesus is still. In this one moment during this Holy Week, Wednesday, he is still. Look over these passages in Matthew and Mark and Luke. It'll take about 30 seconds. We'll get back together. We'll talk about Thursday. We'll talk about Friday. We'll talk a lot about Saturday. And then we'll talk about Sunday. I'm excited for the rest of this week. I know it looks very different. It's not the pomp and circumstance, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's not the celebratory place it should be. N.T. Wright says, every Christian in the world, whatever joy and excitement and celebration they have at Christmas should be multiplied by 1,000-fold, 1,000,000-fold for Easter. Because if Easter Sunday doesn't happen, then Christmas is nothing, doesn't exist. All of this is building to Sunday. So, on this Wednesday, as Jesus spent this Wednesday during Holy Week, be still. Take a moment of still and reflect on what is going on this week. What is Holy Week? What happens from Palm Sunday to Easter Sunday? What happens on that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday? All this building. Be still today. Share the story with your family. Read it with your kids. Read it with your parents. Read it on your own. And let's get back together tomorrow. I want to do this again. Let's have a few more of these live stream, getting everyone together. And as always, yes, comment, talk through this, chat through as I'm talking. Enjoy it. Enjoy the time together, getting to interact the entire time. It's beautiful and it's wonderful, and I love it. We're not gathered in pews, but man, we're still gathered, and I love how the interaction and our conversations they just change, and so I want to keep it going, and especially this week, and especially this weekend. So let's get back together again tomorrow. I'll schedule another live, and we'll do it tomorrow, and we'll do another one on Friday and Saturday, and one or two on Sunday as well. But on this Wednesday of silence, remember, yeah, I've even got the shirt on, if you can see it up there. And everyone says all of our videos, all of the pastors and preachers making videos this week, we're just all trying to look like we're not making a ransom video giving, proof of life with our shoddy positions here. But yes, he would love first. And Jonathan, good luck with that being still. We'll wait and see if the Shayna and the kids change their answers on that Facebook test you gave them, with you revved up to about 9,000 today. Be still today on this day of silence. Remember what's happened, what Jesus has happened from Palm Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And we know what's going to happen Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And so today's that tipping point where Jesus is still. So let's take a few moments and be still. Talk about it with whoever's in your house, whoever you're living with. If it's yourself, if it's parents, if it's loved ones, if it's kids, whoever it is, talk about it today and what that means. Talk about the story of the alabaster jar, that $20,000 bottle of wine that was cracked open in this moment of stillness as Judas was on the other side of town, entering into a contractual agreement to betray Jesus. I'll schedule this again, live tomorrow. We'll get back together. We'll plan on doing it at 6:30 again tomorrow. It seems to be a decent time for most people, so we'll just kind of plan on that again. So please join us back tomorrow at 6:30. Chat the whole time again, please. I mean it. I love it. I want you guys having that opportunity, having that time, and that's just as important as anything I'm going to say. Anyway, I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.